A very warm welcome here from the Media Lab Bavaria. I'm Lena, I'm the Managing Director of the Media Lab, and next to me is
Benny from MethodWorks, one of the resident coaches here at Media Lab, is going to hopefully be with you over this journey next year.
You are, right. So for our very first live Q&A, we set up the Google Doc up front, and you already typed in all your questions. That is great. If you have any more, please keep typing them in there or somewhere here, or just asking us, because we are trying to answer all of them. To start, I would just give you a short introduction in the program itself, so you get a little bit of a basis of what we are about to do and what we are trying to achieve in the program, and then we come to all of your questions. So the Media Startup Fellowship, it's actually our 5th batch, and by now we changed it a little bit. The biggest tweak, I think, is that you get far more money than before, which is great. And we did it a little bit, or we are about to do it a little bit longer next year. So we have 3 phases with product, sales, and invest. And we are trying to support you from your first prototype, from your first idea to the market entry. To really get into the market, get your product up and running, and hopefully afterwards get an investment, or so you can just set up your startup and are ready to go. And what we are looking for, just to start with that, because we already got some applications who didn't really meet the criteria. So I really want to point out that this is a media startup fellowship. So we are supporting teams that are doing something in media or journalism, for example, content startups or media tech startups. And for media tech, there's a whole list on our website too, what we are looking for. We are especially interested in all solutions, for example, for newsrooms, so like software for newsrooms, or software you can try out new cool media stuff with, for example, in augmented reality or in data-driven publishing, or something with bots or around artificial intelligence. So basically every technology you can use for media, or you can do an application or software that helps media is great for us, and we'd love to support you in that. But we are also looking for example, ad tech or marketing tech or education tech, because actually anything that helps the media industry to become more innovative and to become more digital, that is great. So please, everything that belongs to advertising tech or marketing tech, we are very welcoming to them too. And maybe we can dive a bit deeper in what the program is about. So we really want to support teams that are already pretty interdisciplinary. So if you're about to start a tech startup and you don't have a developer in your team, that wouldn't really work out. So we're really looking for teams that are able to actually build the stuff they're trying to do. And also teams that already have some first sort of prototype. So we saw over the last couple of years that it's better if you already manage to build up something and not only come with just an idea, because just an idea will not be enough. So if you have some sort of a first prototype or some mock-ups or some validation on how that works, that will be great. And from that stage on, we are trying to work with you on market entry journey and building up your product, building up sales, building up a running system to hopefully then get customers and an investment. And maybe you can tell a little bit more about what the phases are about and what we're doing for coaching first.
Sure. So the acceleration program is structured into 3 phases, which we call product, sales, and financing. Pretty straightforward. What we expect in the first phase is everything that will happen around the product, so reshaping it, actually validating the product and the needs and pain points behind it. So we're looking into methods of user-centered design or human-centered design, and I'm going to validate your MVP hopefully at that stage, or even further from that point, if you're actually addressing the right problems with your solution. What are we going to do coaching-wise? So since besides product market fit is very important for us, the other aspect is the team. So we will also focus on team building and actually make sure that you're working well together as a team, because it's one of the bigger criteria why startup fails. We are also going to teach you a little bit about how to manage yourself as new entrepreneurs, how to prioritize tasks, how to build up, a milestone plan, and how to actually achieve it. And then obviously the coaching will be all around user-centered design methodology. So we work a lot with design thinking, we work with lean UX, and therefore we also use tools like the value proposition canvas or the business model canvas. For instance, just a few tools. So if you're not familiar with those already, we're going to teach you some about this, and actually really urge you to work with them, because from the past batches, our experiences are if people actually follow structure and also some tools, it makes them more efficient and therefore more successful. Second phase, where we going to enter then the sales phase. This is really about having the first marketable product, and therefore we need to market it. So it's going to be all about rhetorics, pitching, and sales, and then also everything around growth marketing, growth hacking, and actually finding your customers, learning from them, maybe adapting also your product and your strategies, but also all in all, just starting to make money. And the third phase is then financing, is where we hope that you establish yourself with the first customers and the first sales in the market to actually really see what you need to do in order to grow as a full-grown business. And that has a lot to do with marketing, sales, and also product, but also covers obviously aspects of legal and financing, and then also some more personal things like, how does my role change from a founder or like early stage entrepreneur to somebody who actually runs a business with a lot of people? So I hope this was quite helpful for you to give you an overview about what will happen here around in the 9 months with us.
And actually, in terms of the phases, so maybe you saw on the website, you actually get, in terms of funding, 40,000 in cash and 10,000 in coachings and stuff. So like Benny will be there, the other coachings you just mentioned will help you too on that. And for the 40,000 funding, we connected them to the phases. So you get in the first 3 months 10,000 euro, and if you meet the KPIs, which we will develop together, you get the next 10,000 euro for the next 3 months, and for the last 3 months it's 20,000 euros. So we connected that to the phases. And in terms of, because that was one of the questions too, how many teams are we taking up in the program? We would love to start with 8, and after 3 months select the 5 that are really most promising and made the best progress. So what would be great is to really, if you meet the KPIs and we see that you're doing good, you're coming to the next phase. And after 6 months, we can take 3 to 5 startups in the last phase with us. So basically, that's how all these phases work. And so the next question was, someone asked, he's still looking for a co-founder, and how far does it make sense to apply? So the thing is, we are looking for functional teams. So if you already feel that you can do the basic stuff and you can build up a product with the team you have, that's fine. Otherwise, it's of course you can always apply, and we try to figure out and to help you to find other people. We saw that it's pretty hard if you're a solo founder. So if you're applying as a solo founder, please make some very good statements why you can do it nevertheless, although you might have not all the skills that are required to actually start a startup. Yeah, so and also about the investment, because there was some question about that seems to be too good to be true. Actually, that's a great thing because we are funded by the state of Bavaria, so they are really supportive of startups in Bavaria and especially of media startups. So yes, it actually is without any equity, and we don't want to have anything of that back. Besides you being a really great startup, and you have to be here. That is what Benny was just pointing out to me. So the thing is, we would love to support you here in Munich, here in Bavaria, and that leads to the next question, if you have to be here to do the program. We get a lot of questions about that. The thing is, with that, you really get the most out of this program if you're here. Because we have a co-working space here on a daily basis, people are popping in. We have a lot of meetings with media managers, with people who are interested in what our startups over here are doing. If you're not sitting here at a table, I can't introduce you to them and give you all the context. And that's really something only teams that are here can benefit from. Also, in terms of coaching, we will have a resident, or like you're doing our resident coaching, which will be once a week or once every second week. So I think we come out with one coaching day a week over the whole program, with all the other topic or coachings around marketing, sales, everything Benny mentioned. And for that, you need to be here too. So we can't do that remote, and we can't do it with just someone who plays here while the founders are somewhere else, because we need really the people here to work with who are doing the decisions, because otherwise it wouldn't work. Maybe you can tell a bit more about how that works.
So first, how does the coaching work? So we're going to have some a general coaching, call it that, which will be with me and my colleagues. Which is weekly or bi-weekly. We're gonna support you on the way through the stages and basically all the problems that you have as an entrepreneur with your business, so in order to make it work. The other part is the special topics coachings, which we partially do ourselves, but also other coaches will be joining, and that is around, as I mentioned, the phases will be separate events, which you also have to be here. From my experience over the last batches, it makes far more sense to actually do the coachings in person, to talk to you with all the problems that you have in person, to find solutions in the room while we do the coaching. Face-to-face is way more efficient in the ways of working and actually helping you to get further than doing it remotely just for the case of doing it. And I'm strictly against that based on the experiences we had. And we can also see this in the track record of the startups in the batches who were actually here, were working closely with us, also taking our advices and at least trying them out and you know, going further with it. And those who were participating in the coachings in one way or the other, just for the sake of participation, and which doesn't make really sense, not for me, not for you. So we're very strict here.
We are. Maybe you have also some success stories of former teams that did a really good job in our program, which you would like to extend.
Yeah, there are two companies I have in mind, and it also demonstrates the different states. The startups come here and will be coached over the whole time period of the project, of the program, sorry. The one is Buzzard, which is there's 360 degrees views on topics that mostly political but really resonate with the people out there and very in the current focus of society, and they're trying to find different perspectives on it. And this was a very small team, 3 guys, very at the beginning. So what we had to do with them is actually get their value proposition right and actually go out and do user testing for different stakeholder groups, also for the case of monetization, thank you. And in order to make it work and actually find a business model for them that is suitable. and then we prepared them to go to the Google News Initiative, where they actually won and got another round of funding, so to say, which is the first success story of a team that started very early in this batch. Another one is called preferre. Preferre is more or less logistics or process management system for artists, mainly photographs really, and they had experience in that area themselves by managing a magazine called Accelerator for the last 10 years. So those guys were more experienced than Buzzard, for instance, and therefore had a different value proposition and also different state of the product when they came in here. So for them, it was really more, what is like the 1 or 2 year plan? Also, how do we get financing really quickly? How do we grow? They had the first customers already. For them, it was more or less, okay, how do we make it into a very sustainable business model? What kind of business model branches do we have here that we can utilize, and how do we test it, and how do we get financing? And the batch ended with them acquiring a 6-digit financing round. So they grew pretty heavy, and I think they're very successful, and they're still doing great. So 2 startups with different backstories, different stages that we actually got them into the batch. Just to say how we work very individually with the startups, depending where they are and what they need.
And maybe to pick up on that, the individual coaching. So I know that in other programs, it's more like, okay, a coach comes in and tells the whole group like 2 hours something about what marketing is about. And we saw over the last years that that's not really a good thing to do. So we focus a lot on individual coaching in every topic. So you basically get like the 1 or 2 hours with the coach for your team, who was walking you through what would be a good sales funnel, or what would be a good marketing strategy. And we really try to help you very individually, because we know that although all of you are in an early stage, of course, the early stage can range from like here to far over there. So we're really supporting you in the stage you are in right now. And just because and we get so many questions about the full-time in Munich thing, just to emphasize that again, it is okay if you live somewhere else. But you just have to make sure that you're here for the coachings. As I said, once a week will be, I think, a good, well, that's basically, we will have the coaching like once a week somewhere. We don't have a fixed date yet, but that will be the amount of time you at least have to spend here. You get more out of the program if you're actually using our co-working space, because you can benefit from all the other contacts we have down here. And we, of course, have some other events like pitch days, like roadshows, like introductions to you to CEOs of media companies. And for all of them, you have to be there too. Most of them will be in Munich. Others will be like somewhere else. So we're doing field trips with our startups, for example, to New York, to South by Southwest. You can apply for those. So we offer a lot of stuff around that, and you can benefit from that if you're here. If you're not, you might be still eligible to apply. We just need to know how often it would be possible for you. And you just have to make sure that the ones who decide are here when we have some offers for you.
Also on that point, from the past batches, we had startups who were kind of like traveling to Munich here and then. And we had startups who actually fully relocated to Munich. And also with those who relocated, again, I can say they were obviously more successful because they got more benefits out of the program. As Lena mentioned, the whole network, just being here, just getting the news firsthand, everything that happens around here, because sometimes people just pop in, and if you're not here, then you can't grab those opportunities.
All right, so I think there were a couple of more questions on who's eligible. So I think what we haven't covered yet is the part of if you have been in another accelerator already before somewhere, if you are eligible to apply. The thing is, if you have been in another one, that's fine for us. although you should say why you need to be in another accelerator, so what you would like to achieve out of this program the other one couldn't offer you, or if you make a pivot and just need some more support in that. What is not possible, because we just saw that too much for early stage teams, is if you are in another accelerator at the same time. So while you're with us, you're, so to say, exclusive with us, and of course we don't prevent you to get money from anywhere else. So if you get funded during the program, that's great. If you get some other fellowships that's not connected to some sort of an accelerator or a coaching program where you have to be present there, that's amazing too, and we always support that. But doing a real acceleration program while being in ours, that's just not possible, because then the one coach says something and the other coach in another program we don't know says the other thing, and you're just very confused and nothing will work out. We have that, so we're not doing that again.
Obviously,
yeah.
We were right.
Always, like always. So, and there was a question about from Francesco about being incorporated in another market. So basically, our fellowship is for early stage startups, and early stage is a very, very wide phrase. If you're incorporated in another market, we would need to know why you need funding from us to build up your product over here, and why you can just do it from your revenue you already have, or why you can just make an internationalization step with an investor or something like this. So we just need the reasons basically for every part why you need some state funding. You don't have to pay that. Yeah, so let me look at the questions. For the
maybe around for the bootcamp.
Yeah, for the bootcamp.
So we had 3 questions around the bootcamp. Maybe I start with the easier ones. So, do we already have an exact date for the selection bootcamp in January? Yes, we do. It's the 17th of January until the 19th. So Thursday to Saturday, 3 days. I recommend you to come a bit earlier. So come on 16 maybe, just to get settled in Munich if you're not from here. When do you actually know if you can join the bootcamp? We will hope to have the final contenders ready for the 21st of December. So to say, you get an extra Christmas present if you're part of the bootcamp. And then the third question, which is a bit bigger, is what can be expected from the bootcamp? The bootcamp, obviously, as the word says, is more or less a stress test for you guys to see. For us to see who is actually the best, or who works the best as a team, as a startup, and you know, can deal with the pressure. That's the essence of any bootcamp. If you do it in a startup scene or with sports, it's always the same. So what we do is check you out as a team, as individuals, see how good you work together, and how well you work with the idea, and what you're willing to do for it. So I think there's no need to tell you more details about what are we going to do about the business or idea validation, what kind of methods we're going to use, or so on. It's more or less to see how well you click, how well you perform, and also under pressure, and what you're willing to do in order to make your startup work. So we have a better view about you and can then decide which startup we want to take in.
And maybe also what we're looking to see during these 3 days is also how far along you are with your idea. So how good is your idea already validated? Do you know what your target group is? Do you know what your market is? And if the product actually fits the market, or if it's just an amazing idea you came up with and no one else really wanted to have. So that might be an outcome of that, but we just need to see at what stage you are. And during this these 3 days, so actually it's really, as Benny mentioned, it's for us to see how the team works. So it's essential that you are there with your whole core team. Obviously, not all the interns you might already have, but the founders should be here, the core team should be here. Sorry. And what you what you should expect of that is also like a very great workshop to just walk you through the validation process of your ideas. So even if you're not selected in the program, you at least get a 3-day workshop on having some coaches working with you on how good your idea already is, how good your product market fit is, so you still get something out of that. And at least for that, I really would recommend to apply. And we had a follow-up question from Francesco on the question to how you should, if we will help to facilitate the transfer to Germany. And for that, we can help you with that. We have some amazing colleagues at Invest in Bavaria, which is an institution that focuses actually on the topic of helping startups to come over here. We know them well, so we would do that. We haven't done it yet, but we are always open to helping you in any kind we can. So we would work with them on helping you, and I think they set up some amazing programs to actually bring some other startups here, so we could just cooperate on that. So please feel free to write something about that in your application too, so we know what we're dealing with. And there also was the question, and I really like that one, how many applications have you already received? Well, as all of you are startups, I know, and we by now know, that all of you will apply at the very last second of the very last day of the deadline, which is out there. So by now we have a couple of applications from also from different industries who wouldn't be really eligible, but a couple of great questions too, or applications too. So just one hack maybe for application phase, because I really love people who are applying very early in the during the phase. So your application will be read earlier than the others who are applying late. And then while we have still fresh brains and are reading everything that's written in there, so apply early. So I think from the questions we got up front, I'm not quite sure yet, but I think we covered most of them by now. Do you have any more questions? Just feel free to just turn on your microphone and ask us directly in here too. If you have any questions right now. So, or write them in the doc, because we have it on the other screen. No questions left.
Yeah, I have one.
Perfect. Great.
Alex from IM e-commerce in Amsterdam. So I'm a little bit confused about incorporation in another market. What do you mean by that? Because we started the company here in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Are we supposed to move the company like legally also to Bavaria, or can we just stay in Amsterdam in the Netherlands?
So a question back to you. What would you love to achieve out of this program? Why are you thinking about applying for that?
Well, we are now we're quite far now with our minimum viable product. So right now we're talking to customers and have some pilots lined up, but really getting the bigger media players, get in touch with them through an accelerator like you would be really good for us.
Okay.
Like Axel Springer or what? Yeah.
So your product is not out on the market in the Netherlands?
We started the company a year ago, so we built the product for the last few months, and now we're going to market with it.
Okay.
But the company is already incorporated.
Yeah. So for the first step, you don't have to have an incorporation here in Germany. But we actually, because it's the first time we're doing this pretty international, and over the last years we haven't had that case so far. I have to check back with our funders on that. But if you're here and if you're working here and if you're at least for the 9 months here with us working on your project, I think that's fine. But we can, I will follow up on that And as we are just summarizing everything we said in the Google Doc, afterwards, I'll put up some notes on that too.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, are there any more questions out there? I think there are none in the doc. Great. Maybe just to wrap that up, what would you love to see for startups in the program?
I'm more a team guy, so for me the idea is always secondary. So I mean, it still has to amaze me at some point, but I'm not really focused on a different aspect of media or content or journalism per se, or a different part of tech. For me, what I like is teams that really emphasis on knowing their customers, knowing the user, and being able to tell a story around this one and actually have some validation around it. And it's not just like, oh, I think this is cool and I like it, or I had my problems, so I found a solution for it, but I don't really know if people actually want to have it, or just work on assumptions. That's something I really hate. So concerning the product, I want to hear a story that is actually validated and makes sense. And where if I would be a customer, no matter if it's a B2B or B2C product, it could actually feel that there's a need for it and I would buy it. So that for me is always how I see it. And then obviously the team, how the team work, team dynamics, the way how you communicate, how you work together, how you deal with stress. That's for me, I think, the two main points that I want to see when I meet you and interact with you over the bootcamp.
Great. And for us, it really is about bringing more innovation to the media industry. So any weird tech ideas we love. We also love content startups who are thinking about new ways to publish digital magazines. For example, we have a great startup, we supported a great startup which is called Plantura. They are a gardening magazine for they even found some great new ways to monetize that, so we can just support them to build up their product. And I just want to point out two other things, because actually the fellowship program is one of the programs we do, and it's now, so we are working right now on some other programs and projects. I already mentioned the field trips to New York and to South by Southwest, which we had one field trip this year with our alumni. So you really benefit from that too. Once you are our alumni, we're there for you a little bit longer and help you also to find other contacts in other countries, like in New York. And we had some great follow-up with companies, or our startups actually had some great follow-up over there too. And South by Southwest will be the next thing in March we will do. And we just started another program, which we call the Growth Fellowship, so to say, which is also, actually our alumni are eligible for that. So you get another 50,000 euro of support, of funding, and you just have to pay back 20% of that after 3 years. So you basically get another 40,000 without any equity, without any paying back of that. And for that, we would love to bridge the gap between you being ready and being in the market, getting the first revenue to stand on your own feet, or are ready for an investment in Germany or in Europe. And we really saw that there's a gap in funding and seed funding or pre-seed funding. So we talked to the state of Bavaria and got some more funding on that. So basically, if you're coming to Bavaria and if you're coming to Munich, you could make in the end 90,000 euro, which is great to start a startup without any equity and any other follow-ups, although you just sell your soul to us, so to say. No, you don't. It's all yours. Your startup is yours, and we're happy to support media innovation and to support you. So yeah, if there are no more questions, I think we would wrap it up. And please feel free, if you have any other questions that come up afterwards, you can always reach us over social media at Media Lab Bayern. You can also write them in the doc, because I think we keep that updated and are checking that back. So we write all the answers we had for you in that. And yeah, so I think then we answered everything.
Okay.
I think, hopefully.
Maybe one note about moving to Munich. For those who are not from Munich and applying for this program, I know it's kind of a big step, and Munich is also not very known for their good cost of living. Yeah. Let's say that. So it's a financial commitment for sure. It's also very hard to find good places, but it's possible. And you really have to consider here. In Munich, there are many good companies for supporting startups, also media startups. And the other thing is there are also a lot of wealthy people who like to see themselves as business angels or even later stage venture capitalists, and there are also venture capitalist companies and so on. So you really have to think about this from a strategical perspective and really give it a good thought, because it's not just about moving here for a program, it's also moving here for the chance to start a living and actually start a company in a very good infrastructure.
That's a very good point. So we have some amazing companies that just moved here over the last years, like IBM started a huge IBM Watson Center. The worldwide center is now based in Munich. We have Microsoft, we have Google with also a developing part over here. And we basically have also contacts to all of them, so we could introduce it to them. And the thing Benny said about the money, that's pretty right. So I think the investors are in Munich, and it's just a good way to just be here, talk to them on a regular basis, meet them at conferences, at events, to really set the stage for your startup there. Yeah, great.
We're good.
Thanks to all of you for listening to this. And please, as I said, feel free to add any more questions you might have about this program. And we are really looking forward to all your applications and to hopefully see you first in January. The bootcamp is from the 17th to 19th of January, 3 days. Be here for the full 3 days if you want to be in the program. And then we will start in mid-February, I think the 18th too, with the first 2 full-time weeks of a startup school, so to say, where we work with you on all the topics, especially on product market fit. And we are very looking forward to support the next batch of teams and are working with you guys on all your amazing ideas. So thank you so much for joining us for this. Thanks.
Thank you guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.